If you're a person who likes adventure and loves running into the unexpected, then join us and become the surprise traveler. See beautiful landscapes, wildlife revealing their secrets, fascinating architecture, we know you, as our fellow travelers, will cherish the journey.
Hey, 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 hey,
Amazing people and cultures that we cannot resist,
hey,
stories that captivate us, and share a laugh with us at the funny happenstances we stumble upon. Wonderful, spellbinding surprises await us as we take adventures around the globe. Every continent and country has its own treasures to be explored. Hello, my name is Doug Crisman, your host. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that this episode was originally recorded prior to the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. As I speak these words, we all bear heavy hearts for those that have struggled the most. We send our prayers out across the globe to everyone that has been affected. What we're experiencing now and since mid-March is a far cry from the carefree environment we lived in a number of years ago when we filmed this adventure in Tanzania. It was a different time back then, and we're very thankful to have had the opportunity for such a unique experience. We hope that you are happily distracted by the surprises we share with you, even if for only a 30-minute diversion. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the program, and please stay safe.
Flight 527 ready for departure.
For our first adventure, we start out from New York's JFK Airport. After a 7.5-hour flight, we arrive in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Here we change planes and continue on to Tanzania, which is located on the eastern side of the continent of Africa and adjacent to the Indian Ocean. We land in Arusha at the Kilimanjaro International Airport after another 11-hour flight around 9:30 p.m. local time. After staying 2 days in the Arusha area, we traveled within the northern part of Tanzania to Serengeti National Park and finally off to the Serengeti Plains. We were welcomed by Mike and Bev Christina, our hosts, and Paul Oliver, a well-known guide and naturalist. Paul lived in Tanzania for over 35 years and established the first official visitors camp, Oliver's Camp in the Serengeti National Park. Much to our delight, they took us on a life-changing adventure over the next 15 days. There is no better place to encounter a life-changing experience and enjoy the thrill of adventure than in Africa, and Tanzania is one of those places we didn't want to miss. Our expectations were surpassed as we encountered spellbinding surprises along the way. As a testament to that, our friends Mike and Bev Christina, who arranged this trip, have returned 18 times over the last 32 years and have had new magical surprises every trip. But for now, let the adventure begin.
Nice jump. Look at that. Which type of monkeys are they?
Burbot.
Burbot. Yeah, well done.
They're fighting.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there it goes.
Cool.
Oh my goodness.
I knew he was going to do that.
You will see from this first episode why we totally understand Mike and Bev's love for Tanzania. I'd like to introduce you to Mike and Bev Christina. They're going to join us remotely from their home in Connecticut, and they're going to bring us up to date on their latest trip to Tanzania and then share the evening with us talking about the adventures that we had. Welcome, Mike and Bev. It's good to have you with us today.
Hi, Doug.
Thank you. Hi,
Thanks for
Doug.
having us.
I know you just got back from a recent trip to Tanzania,
Yeah.
and we want to get into that and find out a little bit about what you were doing there and what your latest trip was like. But You have been to Tanzania 18 times over 32 years.
Right.
And that begs the question as to why. What's your relationship with Tanzania that makes you want to do that?
Well, if I can answer that. First of all, Africa was a dream of mine, Africa in general. I didn't know much about it since I was a little kid.
Okay.
We met folks that had been a couple of times, and we started talking about going to Africa. And our friend said, well, we don't have time to plan it, but if you do, let's go. We'll go with you, the four of us. So I took about a year of planning to figure out where we wanted to go in Africa. Ultimately, it was Tanzania. The reason being, I was told that it's wild, it's governed well, it's a safe country, and it is teeming with wildlife. So that's how it started.
Excellent.
You know the answer to the question because you've been with us twice.
Correct.
and we do have travelers that have been with us 3 times and 4 times.
Okay.
And the 4-timer is going next year
Right.
Okay.
for her 5th trip.
But it's always a different trip. It's
Yes,
never the
right.
same. As you know, Doug, you've
Right.
been 2 different times, and it was a totally different trip, although you're seeing loads of wildlife and the culture. It just never seems to be the same, and that's what keeps us
No.
going back. We learn something every time, and we can also see it through other people's eyes, and that's very exciting to
Right.
us.
Good. Good. Well, it's certainly been exciting for me, and I'd like to make trip number 3 as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's always
you're
some,
in.
Mark you
there's
down.
always some logistics to work out on that, but well, look at that's great, and you know we've loved the traveling over there with you, and we always have such a great time. I think let's jump into some of the recent photographs that you took, Mike, because I know you're a great photographer, and you're going to share with us a few photos today. This is certainly an interesting one. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, that's a pair of nesting saddlebill storks, which they're fairly rare, and to find them nesting is very unusual. That's a breeding pair. The yellow eye is on the female.
Okay. I think you have another shot here a little bit closer up.
Yeah, that's
So-
the female. She looks pretty happy.
So what's she saying to you?
Get
Get the hell out of here.
Right.
Well, I think you had another shot of a beautiful shot here. What is this one?
That's a bearded woodpecker. That's found all around Tanzania.
What a beautiful shot. So what else have we got here? I think you saw some cheetahs and a mother with some cubs, a lot of cubs.
5 cubs, and they're just old enough to interfere with any of the hunting that she tries to do. So they actually sat down for a while and were very good until she started to run, and then they all ran after her and interrupted everything.
Oh. Well, just leave it to the kids, right?
Yep.
So now what about this one? This one's beautiful. A leopard in this case, right?
Yeah, we were very lucky. This is the first time we've seen leopard cubs, and Mom was residing in a kopje, which is a rocky outcrop, and she was putting her 2 cubs to bed, and we watched the whole thing.
Wow. That's
We
beautiful.
first heard them meowing up at the top of the kopje, and we were just lucky enough to be there when she decided to stop the meowing. She went up, got one by one, brought them close to the ground into a small cave at the bottom of the kopje, and basically put them to bed.
Wow. It's gorgeous. And I
Yeah.
think we got one more. What a beautiful
Well, I
shot
think
of a
that
lion.
speaks for itself.
So but, people always ask, how close were you?
Oh, maybe 20 or 30 feet, but we're in the vehicle.
Right, right. So,
And lions will tolerate vehicles. They'll come over sometimes and lie in the shade of the vehicle. But if you got out of the vehicle and showed them your 2 legs, they'd probably run, because we're a predator to lions.
oh, okay. Wow. So they actually see us as a predator. Rather than coming after us, they're going to run away from us?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, if you got within their fight or flight range and they had no choice, they might come after us, but they'd rather run.
Well, those photos make me want to go back immediately, like I said earlier, but even more so after seeing those. Those were just wonderful. I would also like to share with our viewers a little bit about elephants, because I know they're one of your favorites, they're certainly one of mine. And it always takes me back to remembering those beautiful photos that you got, and also Paul got, of that herd of elephants that surrounded us. And Paul had positioned us just perfectly to take advantage of this herd of about 16 elephants coming through. And I just thought it'd be great to share with our viewers. But I thought you might also just share a little bit with them about the state and status of elephants in Tanzania now, because I know back at this time when we saw these elephants, which has been a few years back now, there was a lot of problems with how they were going to survive and so forth with the poaching.
Yeah, it's getting a little better. China placed a ban on elephant tusk trade in 2017, so that's helped a lot.
Okay.
But there's still demand around the world for it. And until the demand stops for tusks, they'll still be poaching.
Right. It was Paul who took this great photo of the herd as they approached our Land Rover. And here's one that Mike shot of the elephants moving by us. Later that day, we found out that the elephants know how to have some fun as well. This small group seems to delight in the playfulness of taking a bath, something every respectable elephant would want to do, isn't it?
It's like they just swim.
Oh,
in
look
the
at him
lake.
go down. He totally
They're really
submerged.
good swimmers.
They do the dog paddle, but they probably do the elephant paddle.
Now,
They're so buoyant.
Oh yeah, exactly.
what do they do with their trunks? They
Hold
in
it up
terms
to
of-
breathe.
They hold it up.
Periscope.
Okay.
That's their nose. Oops.
I wonder if he held his nose when he just went in.
I'm loving it in there, aren't they?
Oh, they're playing.
Going around. Look how white the ivory becomes.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Saying, be careful.
Oh, did you
how
see
do
the
that?
shower?
The scene of playful activity was in sharp contrast to an encounter we had with another small herd of elephants a little bit later. This young bull's not too happy with us arriving on his road, so he decides to confront us. In the meantime, we're hearing two other bulls fighting behind the trees. In that moment, we could feel the sheer power of the two bulls sparring behind the bushes. But our eyes remained on the young bull as he is trying to figure out just how to deal with us.
That's huge. You don't. That's a very rare animal these days. Elephant with tusks that size. Very few places they're left. They've all been shot out. Even the genes have been shot out in many places. Very few that size.
Well, I really loved that clip, that set of clips with the elephants, and you know, if you had any comments, I'd like to you know, have you share those with us now.
I wanted to note that the social system of elephants is so intricate and bonded, and when there was a picture of you, Doug, and your wife Grazina in the car, and the elephants that surrounded or passed in front, there's a tiny baby. And when you look at it, it's amazing that none of these gigantic creatures step on the baby.
Right.
The touch, the feeling, and the concern of protection is amazing, especially when you see a large herd like this with small babies.
Right. Yeah. No, it was magical for sure. Let's leave the Serengeti for now and head on into the Ngorongoro crater. In this particular crater, you can find a myriad of animals. So it's one of the greatest tourist places in Tanzania. For that particular reason, I don't actually like to go there because I like to be where there are no people and only animals. But I have to say it's an amazing place. You would definitely want to visit it. I do want to warn you, for those of you that are bothered by violence in nature, this does depict a violent situation. So here we are in the Ngorongoro crater. It's a midday. The sun is beating down on us. It's as hot as you can possibly imagine. You can see the heat just sweltering up from the plains.
Two lions out there, and they're
Hunting.
hunting.
She's seen the last one is struggling. She's
Yeah.
gonna get it.
Yep.
Oh
That last
Oh my God.
calf is
This
struggling.
incredible.
Last calf is struggling.
Yeah.
She got it.
Oh my God.
The last calf had a funny leg, and they noticed it. That's why they did that.
Done.
Oh.
You know, she's not going to save the calf's
The
life
calf,
because one
yeah.
swipe from that lion on her neck,
Yeah.
and she could bleed to death.
Yeah, it didn't look like she had to put much
No,
much effort in.
that calf had a gammy leg. She saw that from early on.
Villain or Sheba, the question is, how do we look at that lioness? Was she a villain or was she really a hero? It actually addressed that natural selection that happens out in the wild. So I just wondered what your take was on it.
Yeah, I agree, Doug. Although it can be difficult to watch, and certainly the first time that we saw a kill, it was rather upsetting. But as time goes by and you meet lions, leopards, cheetahs that are trying to survive and feed their families, it's less and less upsetting. And you realize that back home for a leopard or a lion are small cubs. And it really, they need to survive as well.
Right.
And you're right, it does a lot of times weed out the weaker of a group, like we saw with the little wildebeest.
Well, thank you to both of you. One fact is for sure, there's a lot of adversity out in the Serengeti plains, and we just happened to run across several animals that had a lot of misfortune, or we might call calamity striking. And when that happens, the storks and the vultures come along and they become the cleanup crew. Here we came across an old lioness nearing death. She's resting, staring at a group of zebras, And the zebras, well, they're nervously looking back at her, but seeming to sense that the lioness is weak and not really a threat.
It's an orphaned wildebeest just here. They hide us and everybody's ignoring it.
He's so tiny. The chances are it could survive, right?
No, because it
needs
can't.
milk.
Needs milk.
Oh.
Watch, that one's coming back. They're all smelling it, but not encouraging it. Once they've lost their mum, that's curtains.
Each of these events remind us that life on the plains is unforgiving, dangerous, and yet it's beautiful too. The biggest thing we always talked about was the hyenas stealing the kills from whatever. In fact, some animals wouldn't even hunt if the hyenas were around because they knew they would come and
Sure,
take
the
them away.
cheetahs will kill it, the hyenas will steal it, then the lions will steal it from the hyenas.
Ah, there you go. The pecking order, huh? Here's a family of cheetahs confronting a particular kind of hyena, a striped hyena. This is unusual in several ways. First of all, most often you only see spotted hyenas, not striped ones. Also, the cheetah mother's using this as a lesson for her cubs. Do you know why the three of the cheetahs did not attack the hyena? It's the same reason the wildebeest mother didn't try to get her calf away from the lioness once it had been captured. She didn't want to take the chance of getting seriously wounded by the lioness. Remember, if you're an animal and you get seriously hurt in the wild, there are no veterinarians on the Serengeti. When it's all over, the cheetahs move on, relax a bit, and just take it easy. I guess it wasn't too traumatic. What is a creche? It is a few females of a species that band together to tend to the young ones for the rest of the group, to free up the other mothers to participate in other activities. They also protect and feed the young ones. That's what we see here, a creche of ostriches. Missing the big surprise. You think you should have seen it, but you didn't. And there's a story behind that I would like to share with you. We're in the Butu camp area in the Serengeti when my lovely wife, Grazina, saw something that she didn't really share with us right away. Our guide, Paul, seeing the sun setting, he was really wanting to get back to the Butu camp. It was late, and you can kind of see as the sun is getting down there, and we're out in the brush, we would need to get back onto the road. At that point, bring Mike and Bev into the story here, and you can share with us what happened when we got back to camp.
Well, right. It was a long day, and you're right. We were rushing back, and when we got back, Grazina said, "You know, I saw something strange." She said, "I thought it was a rock at first, but when I really kind of looked, it was coiled around and it looked like it had scales." At that point, the blood drained from Paul's face, and he took out the book, and he said, "Could it possibly have been this animal?" And he pointed to a pangolin, which is a very rare animal to see. And Grazina said, "That was it."
So many people have not seen a pangolin on safari, including us. We've never
Right.
seen one.
I had to go get a photo of this because we didn't have it. Giraffes. I really admire these tall, strange creatures of the Serengeti. They possess such beauty and grace.
Watch, these young males, they might fight each other. Sort of neck. Watch them swing. It's like slow motion boxing.
Let's learn about their eating techniques. They're so skillful. Well, I guess it's a matter of survival, isn't it? End of clip.
Very long tongue. If you watch this one with binoculars, you see its tongue come out and pluck off around the thorns to get the nice soft new shoots from the fishes. Female to the left of the bush, she's shorter than him. Her horns, hers are all fluffy at the top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hair goes above the top, and he's bald on the top like me. Right, so male has those very stout horns without that tuft.
Yeah.
The female, so you can sex them just by looking at the heads.
What do you typically run into that seems to bother people and keeps them from coming to Tanzania?
Well, you're right about it being myths, because we don't run into the things that people think they're going to be bothered by. I mean, you'll show some pictures of the tents. We talk about camping, and people think, oh my God, I'd never camp. But when you see the shots of the inside of the tents, it's very comfortable.
Well, let's bring some of those up. Well, since we're talking about them, let's just bring one of them up.
That's a banda at Koro Tented Camp in Serengeti. It's very comfortable.
Is this the inside
As
of
you
it?
can see, full king-size beds, unless you're in need of a twin, and they separate the beds.
Okay. This is another camp?
Yeah, very comfortable.
Ensuite bathrooms. You don't have to go outside. Hot showers, bucket showers, whenever you want. Staff is incredible, takes very good care of you.
It's just beautiful.
Looks like dining isn't too shabby either.
Dining with elephants in the yard. Yeah.
Good food.
Yeah, I remember the food was great.
Yeah,
We loved the
amazing food. You
So-
don't ever have to worry about getting sick on the food.
Right.
They have top-notch chefs, cleanliness, everything is perfectly done.
Thank you for inviting us into your home in Connecticut.
Well, so I'm Mike, and this is Bev, and call us, email us. We love talking about Tanzania, and any questions you have, we'd be happy to answer.
Okay.
We're up here in Northeast Connecticut, and we'll talk Tanzania.
All right. All right. And I know you always love to do that.
Yes, yeah, it's fun.
Well, thank you to both of you for sharing with us your insights and experiences and your stories that just make the magic live on after you come back from Tanzania.
Thanks, Doug, and we'll see you out in the Serengeti.
That's right.
Good.
Take care. We also want to give a shout out to Paul Oliver for all of his expertise and his guidance and his wisdom as he helped us when we were out in the Serengeti. Well, folks, that just about wraps it up for this evening. Before we go, though, I'd like to show you a short preview of our next episode when we went to India and Nepal. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you for our next episode. And until then, keep exploring. You never know what surprises you'll find out there. And remember that Top Spotter Award? Here's how that conversation went down.
So we vote. We vote. Do we vote her top spotter?
Spotter.
Yeah.
Top spotter, not top spotter.
Why? You want that? You want that for yourself? Is that what it is?
I reserve that for myself.
I'd say most improved spotter.
Most improved.
Oh, I think she's great. Yeah.